Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Kyle here with KennyTRY Training. So today I wanted to go over kind of life of a personal trainer. If it's something you're interested in doing, kind of my experience working as a trainer over the last 8, 9 years, and then give you a little bit of feedback, a little bit of insight, and then yeah, just take you through it. So give you a quick snapshot of my background. When I was in the military, I was in the Marines, got out of the Marines. Once you get out of the military, you can collect unemployment. So I was on unemployment when I was like 20, 21. And then every day, I was in Los Angeles at the time, I was working out at an LA Fitness. And at one point, I remember seeing they were hiring, all positions type deal. And then, so decided unemployment is going to run out at some point, and then it's probably smart of me to get a job. So I applied, got the job, and then what I was doing was I was what was called a PT lead, meaning I sold trainers packages for them type deal, and then tried to funnel clients into them, which was my first glimpse of the sales world. And inside of the fitness industry, sales is huge. Something I've learned over the years the hard way, time and time again. Anyways, so I was a PT lead for LA Fitness. I hated that job, never recommend it. All I did was sell and try, like I said, try to funnel to other trainers. But what I do remember is I remember watching how the personal trainers would operate day to day, and I thought to myself, that's like the coolest job. They would come in with their clipboards and their coffee, and then they would just be hanging out, smiling, goofing around with their clients, taking them through workouts. So I was all about that. So at that point, I was like, okay, I have to get certified as a trainer. What's this process look like? So I looked it up on Google, tried to figure out like the best course, took a look at all the pricing, stuff like that. So I decided to go with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and then started studying really. So that process, that course cost me, I want to say around $1,200 at the time. So that's definitely a decent investment for some people, to purchase one of these courses to try to become a trainer. So the number one thing is going to be you need your certification in order to be a personal trainer. It's like legally you cannot be hired at a gym unless you have that certification. So what I would recommend is NASM 100%. So that's the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and they have a whole bunch of different certifications that I've gotten myself through the years, like performance enhancement specialist, fitness nutrition specialist, corrective exercise, all sorts of stuff. So if you're looking to become a trainer, you need your certification. If you're going to get your certification, I recommend NASM. Now, just a heads up, it's going to take a good amount of time to study. The test is proctored, and it does cost a nice chunk of change. So for me, I probably studied, I don't know, 6, 7 months or something like that. And then I took the exam, proctored down in Los Angeles, and then I became a trainer after I passed the test. The test is typically pass or fail. So that process, that 6, 7 months studying process, I thought I knew a lot about health and fitness in general, but that program, that course kicked my butt. When I took the test, I thought there was no way I passed because it was very difficult. There's a lot of different concepts. There's a whole lot of anatomy. There's a little bit of biology. There's all sorts of different movements. Like the overhead squat assessment is a huge one with NASM, or the periodization OPT model is another big one. So step number one is to get your certification. And then after that, what I would recommend is start working in a box gym. And what I mean by a big box gym is like LA Fitness, Gold's Gym, 24-hour, lifetime. You have all these options. In most gyms like those, they need trainers. Now, the reason they need trainers bring in revenue to the clubs, right? So if you make a sale as a personal trainer, the gym takes 100% of that, and then they pay you a very small commission on the sale, like anywhere from like 3 to 10% is probably average. Now, where you're gonna make a lot of money is on your session service. Now, working at a big chain gym like one of those, it's what you're gonna want to focus on is the volume of the servicing the appointments. So that's a big thing with training. It's I hate to say it, but sometimes it's definitely looked at as quantity over quality. So we're looking like on the managerial side of it, they're looking at like your revenue produced on a monthly basis. They're looking how many sessions you've serviced, how much money you brought into the club. that type of thing. So working at one of those big chain gyms, you're going to get that experience and you're going to learn how to grow a clientele. And that's another thing. Working as a trainer, when you first start, it's very difficult to grow a full clientele to the point where you're working as a personal trainer full time. Most of the trainers I've worked with over the years are part-time. Like 70% of my career, I was probably part-time as a personal trainer, meaning I was not working 40 hours a week. And in order to work 40 hours a week as a trainer, you need 40 hours worth of session service per week. It's not just the time you're at the club. So if I'm at the club 12 hours a day, but I only service 4 hours worth of appointments, I'm only looked at as I worked 4 hours that day. So I've seen a lot of trainers start and their paychecks are pretty minimal because they don't have a lot of clients. So that's a big thing with personal training is you need to develop pretty much almost a script. A lot of these box gyms have scripts for you to follow in order to make the sale. So the goal is to take the member, explain the value of yourself. Really, you're selling yourself. So explain the value of personal training, and then explain the programming and the nutrition and how it's going to benefit them and it's going to change their life for the better, which is great. You are changing lives 100%. I can't tell you how many clients I've had lose significant amounts of weight. I've had clients, I just had a guy, he ran the Seattle Marathon and he was like probably 55, 56, never run a day in his life. And that's all he wanted to do was run the Seattle Marathon. So you definitely change lives for the better. But if we're talking from like a business perspective, it's, like I said, it's very sales driven, and it's very quantity over quality. So again, just a heads up, when you start out, you're going to start off with a lot of cold calling, meaning calling up new members who join the gym, offering them like a free assessment, and then bringing them in, doing like a consultation where you take like body fat measurements, skeletal muscle mass, their weight, their body mass index, and then show them where they're at on like the scales and stuff. And then basically try to present yourself and then have them purchase, either what's called a paid in full package or like a recurring program. So again, that's another thing is learning how the compensation packages work is kind of funky in the fitness industry. So some gyms, when you start off, they'll pay you a flat rate. So they'll pay you X amount for 30 minutes, and then they'll pay you X amount for a 50-minute session that you worked. And then they'll pay you at like the end of the month, 5% on your total monthly revenue. So if you think about it, like $5,000 that you generate in personal training in 30 days, what's 5% of that? That's $250. So starting off in your first year, generating $5K a month is pretty difficult. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I do now is I train and develop a lot of newer trainers and kind of teach them what I'm trying to explain in this video. So it does take a little bit of time to get really familiar with the sales side of the fitness industry. So again, like I said, it's a lot of presentation. You definitely want to know what you're selling, meaning explain everything thoroughly so the individual on the other end of the table can understand and kind of relate to them and connect with them. And there's a lot of different books I've read on sales. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is very sales driven, that this job of being a personal trainer, which is something I had no experience with when I was kind of up and coming. Another big fun part of personal training is the hours you work. It is not a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job. My body clock at this point, after being a trainer for so long, is I wake up every morning 4 a.m. No alarm clock needed. So I work early mornings. I'll start training. I'll have clients at like 5:30, sometimes 6, and then I'll train to like 10 or 11 if I have a full schedule that day. And then I'll have a midday break from like 11 to 2, 11 to 3, and then I'll work from like 3 to 6. The most successful trainers I've worked with work that split shift heavily, and they hit it hard. So they fill their schedules during those blocks, and then they take a nap during the middle of the day. So it's kind of a pro and a con. So at this point, for me personally, that's just how I operate because I've done it for a while. I've watched new trainers struggle with working the split shift. I had a guy I was training, probably a couple months ago. After 2-3 months on the job, he comes in and he was like, Kyle, how do you sleep? Like, when do you sleep? I can't work till 7 or 8 o'clock at night and then have a 5 a.m. client. So you got to learn to kind of operate based on the clientele schedule, which most individuals work a 9 to 5. So they want to come to the gym before work, or they want to come to the gym after work. So that's definitely another thing, is kind of getting familiar with that split shift life. So it can be, like I said, I don't mind it now, but it's just I'm pretty implanted in that kind of routine type deal. So another thing about being a trainer is anytime you're always with people, you're always with the general public. So you always have to be on, you have to be personable, right? You're a personal trainer. You have to be knowledgeable, you have to know what you're talking about, and then you have to have a client work out. I remember one of my mentors when I first started, he came to me, he sat down, and he said, I know you know how to work out yourself, but what you don't know how to do is work someone else out properly. So that was a big thing, was starting to just understand that I'm always around people. And at times now, I mean, I complain to my wife about it all the time. It's so much stimulation, conversation, exercise. You have like the big giant lights, you have the music. So if it's a Monday or Tuesday night and I'm wiped out and it's 6 p.m. and I'm at the club working with clients and I'm exhausted, but I have like techno music going on, super loud, and I have the lights and I have 3 people just waiting for me to train them, it can be a little bit overstimulating. So that's definitely another heads up for you guys if you're considering the profession. Is it's very stimulating with your senses all the time. I've definitely had a lot of sleepless nights, 100% just from being a personal trainer, just working the funky hours and coming home with just ringing in my ears type deal. So that's kind of far end of the spectrum, but again, just a heads up. So that's kind of the big box gyms. So I do recommend newer trainers start out there so they can hustle the volume, they can learn sales, hopefully they can get a good mentor that can teach them a lot of stuff. I definitely attached myself to some very successful trainers when I was first up and coming, and then just learned everything I could from them. Now, another thing is the style of training that you develop. So personally, I like to train a little bit more high intensity, a little bit more focused on the heart rate, caloric burn. I want my clients sweating, huffing and puffing, trying to find their find that breaking point during the sessions, cautiously and appropriately, and then develop them in that sense where we can, we're a little bit more performance based, versus some of the guys and the girls that I work with are a little bit more like rehabilitation, a little bit more mobility, a little bit more, gentle cardiovascular. Personally, I don't like to train that way. If you ever want to train with me, or if you've trained with me in the past, you know that we get moving. We got some high intensity stuff we got to get going. But developing your style is another thing that will come with a little bit of time as a trainer. So I've mentored a couple of newer trainers, younger guys, and I'm watching them grow into their own style, and it's a little bit more calm, cool, collected, a little bit more plank work on the mats, a little bit more mellow, a little bit more single arm movements. I was watching a trainer the other day. He was on the chest press, literally just doing single arm chest press with one of his clients. So yeah, it's developing your own style overall. Now, shifting gears, if you wanted to try to make it on your own as an independent personal trainer, I wish you luck. So a lot of people want to become a trainer and have their own studio, which is great, but it's very difficult to do. And again, I've looked into purchasing or leasing out a studio and trying to develop full-time my own business versus working at some of these other gyms that almost provide me all of my clientele. Working as an independent trainer, take everything that you know as a personal trainer and then like double that, and that's what you have to learn about running a successful business or a practice, is how to do that. So now we're looking at like things like taxes, we're looking at rent, we're looking at equipment, we're looking at liability insurance, we're looking at business license renewal, all sorts of stuff like that. Are you going to file as a sole proprietorship? Are you going to be an LLC? Like, how's it going to work for you? Now, the issue with trying to go independent is clientele, right? So I hate to say it, but you're not going to be an Instagram trainer where that's how you develop that's where you get all your clients. Unless you're this crazy popular like YouTube sensation or something like that, it's probably not in the cards for you. You're better off trying to go find a high volume member club and then develop your skills that way, and then learn the industry kind of from the ground up. And that's kind of what I've done since I probably started when I was training, I don't know, like 2021. Is I know a lot about the fitness industry at this point, I would say, not to toot my own horn, but kind of how the big box gyms are run. I've looked at, the monthly, the quarterly, the biannual revenues of the club versus the expenditures. So learning the knowledge of the fitness industry from the ground up is something you're going to want to, what I would recommend doing. Um, that's pretty much it. A couple other things would be like when you become a trainer, and this is, I would put this in the pro category, but your life becomes health and fitness. It's everything you look at, like food, workouts, sleep, everything becomes very health and fitness dominated. So every time like I eat a meal, I'm thinking about pretty much my workout tomorrow and what that's going to look like. So if I'm going a little bit heavier on strength over the next couple of days or the next like block myself, I'm going to be more protein, I'm going to try to implement much more protein in my diet, more chicken, more steak, pork, turkey, fish, stuff like that. Versus if like when I was racing the Ironmans, trying to hit a little bit more carbohydrate, and then, working on my sleep schedule, and then working on my nutrition. And then, everything is just evolves around health and fitness in general, which is good, but sometimes it'd be nice to turn it off a little bit. And then very lastly, what I would say is for some of the more seasoned trainers, if you guys are watching this video, is continuing education units. So if you don't know this, every 2 years as a trainer, you need to recertify. So NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine, I have to renew my personal training license basically every 2 years, which means I have to pay X amount of dollars to do it. And then I have to basically upload, I forget the exact number, but a whole bunch of CEUs or continuing education units to show that I've qualified or that I'm continuing to grow as a personal trainer on the education side. So if you're a seasoned trainer, keep doing that. Like I said, it's comforting to me to know in my back pocket if I ever had to move gyms or if I move states or anything like that, I have an up-to-date certification. I have my CEUs. I have a little, more than enough experience on my resume as a personal trainer. So that, trying to develop yourself with CEUs is something I'll continue to do. And I've also recently I've had a couple of trainers approach me asking, how do I become a full-time online trainer? Which in this day and age, I've seen a good amount of trainers go that route. But again, it's difficult to do. It's what's going to make you a lot of money, what's going to make you a six-figure personal trainer. And that was a big goal for me, is trying to make basically 100K gross as a personal trainer at one point in my career. That was it. That was my goal. It's going to be volume on session service. And then if the company you work for pays a decent commission on sales, pushing sales hard. So trying to go online, finding those bodies, finding those clients. You can utilize resources like Thumbtack, TikTok, Instagram, referrals, sorts of stuff like that. But I've been there. I remember when COVID hit, I tried to go fully online, and even though I was semi-successful in running the online kind of realm, and the workouts were great, I still do them. I'm sure some of my clients right now, we train online, so what's up? The volume was nowhere ever close to what it is working for some of these big box gyms. So again, get your foot in the door, be personable, be professional. But yeah, a life of a personal trainer, it's a little bit different. So anyways, you can always hit me with any questions. Like I said, I'll keep trying to put out some educational videos for you guys. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So if you want to start working together as a client, you can always contact me. Or if you're thinking about becoming a trainer, hit me up, and then we can chit chat a little bit more about it. But yeah, that's kind of the life of a personal trainer. So yeah, there you go. I'm back at it this week. I think last pay period, I serviced like 110 sessions in 2 weeks, which again, it's all about the volume. That's what's going to make me a lot of money type deal. So if you're ever interested, hit me up. But again, if you're considering becoming a trainer, it's a great life. It's it's made me more money than I ever thought I would make. Not to put it on a monetary thing, but I've also it's phenomenal watching some of my clients, lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, drop 4, 5, 10% body fat, put on a bunch of muscle, deadlift 405, like bench press 225, whatever their goals are. The marathon guy, that was pretty recent, so I'm still kind of on a high from that. But yeah, it's pretty satisfying and something I definitely take for granted, some of my clientele results. So yeah, anyways, cool. Hope this video dropped some knowledge on you. Go get after it. Keep training hard.